Hi guys, welcome on today live coding session. Let me know if you can hear me right, and we will start in just a minute. Today I would like to show you how we can do a very simple authentication in React application. And for backend, we will use a Strapi Headless CMS. If you are interested in Strapi, I have some materials on my YouTube channel, so you can just check the list. On the previous live coding session, I did a very simple paywall for the ebooks. However, now we want to connect this simple React application to the Strapi so we can use the backend, which Strapi offers to authenticate users. Okay, so hi guys, welcome. I can see first people on the chat, and yeah, you can. I'm glad you can hear me well, because I had some problems before the session. As always, usually when you are starting live session or, I don't know, recording, then the microphone stops to work, or there's something problem, some problems with camera. So I'm really glad that you can hear me and everything is fine. So the first thing we need to do is to customize our Strapi headless CMS a bit, because by default, Strapi doesn't offer a way to store a session inside the cookies. And I found a really great article about that. And of course, I will put a link to this article below in the description of this video. But author here suggested a very simple change that lets us store the session inside the cookie. Because now, for instance, I will show you how the Strapi works by default. So here we have a Postman. Postman is an application that allows you to perform HTTP calls to your server, to your backend. And here, for instance, we have the URL to the Strapi, which is running locally. Here, for instance, I have the code of this Strapi instance. It runs on my local machine. And here we can call this endpoint, and we are passing email and password. And in return, the Strapi returns JWT token. It's a special token which we have to use in next calls, so backend knows that we are logged in as this user. And the problem is how to store this token securely inside the React application, because in the minute I will show you that we want to authenticate with this login form, but then, for instance, we want to create order, we want to change the profile settings, we need to do some stuff in the context of logged in user. And then it's a problem how to store this token. And the best approach, in my opinion, is just to not store it at all, right? It's better if we can just perform the calls, and the browser will automatically send the cookie that was created by the server. And then it's a great thing, because we don't have to store the token inside the local storage, which is, of course, not very secure. We don't have to use session storage, because it's also painful, because every time somebody closes the browser, then the token is gone. The same is if we just store it inside the memory of the JavaScript. If we just store it inside the variable, then it's a problem. What happens if the user closes the browser and comes back to our application? However, if we set the cookie on the server side, then this cookie would be sent with all HTTP calls, and there would be no possibility to get into this token from the JavaScript world, because we will use a secure cookie which would be sent only within the HTTP calls, and you will see in this minute. Tomasz is asking, in your opinion, using local storage in a small application without payments, for example, application to booking table in restaurant, is a mistake, of course, to store JWT token. So this is very common situation that people are putting putting token into the local storage. And I think if you are doing some educational projects, then okay, I think you can store the token there. However, if you are doing some projects for your clients, I would prefer to just use different methods, the cookie, for instance, or something more secure. But yeah, maybe in small applications where you are not dealing with anything critical, right? You are not dealing with money, you are not dealing with orders, then you should judge, right? If implementing that is for you faster, if you can just ship the project within, I don't know, 1 day, and if you want to fix that and use some different mechanism, and for you it's problematic, you don't have backend knowledge how to set up cookie, or your backend doesn't support this somehow. Oh, sorry for the noises from the kitchen. Then maybe it's just easier to use it. But in real applications where you are dealing with some money and other crucial stuff, I would recommend some other methods. So yeah, so here we will change the Strapi implementation. So whenever we are sending the password and email, we will get, of course, in return the entirety of the user, but I also want the Strapi backend to set a cookie for us. And in order to do that, we need to customize a bit how Strapi works. And here, for instance, we have a code of the Strapi plugin user permissions controller. So this is how Strapi works by default. And we want to change a bit how it works by default. So this means that we have to copy this whole code, place it to our project, and customize it. So Strapi will load not the code from Node modules folder, but it will get the code from our project. So we have here our Strapi project, and we need to customize a bit our extension. So we have extension, it's called users permissions, and we have controllers, and here we need to create new file, which would be auth.js. And if we just copy over what we have and we'll save it, then of course our server will restart. However, nothing happened, right? Because this is exactly the code which Strapi uses in the background. So right now we can still go to the Postman, we can still log into our application. However, there are no cookies here, right? It's just HTTP call, no cookies set. So now let's see what the author of this article suggests us. So here we have some fragment of the code where the Strapi system actually creates a JWT token and it returns it to the HTTP payload. And now we need to customize this a bit. So we'll, of course, generate the token, but we also will set a cookie. And this cookie will have a flag called httpOnly. And this flag means that from the JavaScript world, you don't have access to this cookie. So you cannot write something like document, cookies, get, and the name of the cookie. It's impossible. Then we also have a secure flag that this cookie is only sent within secure HTTP calls. And of course, we want to have that only on production. So we have this check here. Then we have max age, which specifies for how long the cookie should be valid, for how long it should exist in the browser. And then, of course, we can pass information about a domain. So what's the domain of the application which will use the cookie. And of course, for development, it's localhost. For production, we have to pass here the real name of the domain. And okay, so let's do it. Maybe let's first find this place in our project. I will maybe move it that way so it would be easier to jump. I will close the command line now. And okay, so here is the code which is responsible for generating JWT token. So maybe I will take it here. We'll write token, and this, of course, would be assigned to this variable. So right now, I will just customize the Strapi in the way that we will still return JWT token. Of course, in your real application, you can just keep the token inside the cookie and it will be just fine. But for now, we'll keep it also in the payload. It's just a demo how we can do this. So the token right now is under this variable, and we also add here the code, which means that server should set the cookie. So CTX is a variable, special variable. I think it's a shortcut for context. So this is a context of the response of the server. So here, this code is fired every time somebody uses the authentication endpoint. So this code will be executed when we are calling auth/local. And if we pass the correct email and correct password, the Strapi should return not only the JWT token, but also cookie. So, okay, we have this token. We are setting the cookie. We are passing the token. And I think if we keep it, then the server should restart. And now when we call the API, we should get in return the cookie. So let's head over to Postman and let's see what will happen if we just click the send now. So it's sending. And now you can see that we have some cookies. So we have a cookie, we have token inside the cookie, we have path, we have domain, we have information about when this expires, we have some signature, so we know that the token is signed actually by the server. So we can see that cookies are right now created. However, this is still not enough because we performed the call, the cookie was created, but now, for instance, let's head over to some endpoint which works only for currently logged in users. So we have, for instance, our API URL/orders, and if we want to call this endpoint, we need still to pass the token so the server understands that we are logged in. And right now, I will remove this token and I will send the request, and you can see that we are getting a forbidden response. Sorry. And the reason for that is that even if we are passing these cookies, because you can see that Postman generated the cookies and it's storing it inside the memory, and now we have these cookies and we are sending them along with the call to the server, still we are the access is forbidden. And the reason for that is that now we have to customize a bit also the logic for checking permissions, because by default, Strapi is only checking what you are sending inside the headers. So if we would give the token inside the header, then Strapi exactly knows that, all right, this guy has token, this guy can log in. However, now we need to change implementation that Strapi also checks not only the header of with authorization, but also checks what's inside the cookie. So now we have also to do the same thing. We need to customize our Strapi, and for that we need to customize the policy which is called permissions. So I will open the sidebar, and here we have plugin users permissions, and we have here policy, and we have to create file permissions, and of course we need to copy over. Here, of course, we have some error inside our server, but yeah, we have to save it and restart our server in develop mode. And let's see if this customization will work. Okay, so looks like our server is working. However, still the Postman will behave the same, right? Because it's just the same implementation of this permissions JS as it is by default. And here we have, for instance, if context state user, if user is already authenticated, then we are going next, and there's no need to check if the user has header with authorization token. And here we need to customize it, so we are checking the cookies. So don't worry, guys, I will log in. I will paste this URL so you can read the article on your own. I think it's a great article. It's a great inspiration for customizing the Strapi. So thanks to the author. And now we have the check. So, okay, we have context request and we have context request header, and the header doesn't contain authorization. So this is the case we want to have. We are not passing header authorization, but we are getting the token from the cookies. So you can see that we have context.cookies get token, and if the cookie contains the token, then we are assigning this to the authorization. And this maybe looks weird to you, why we are doing that, but we are doing that because next if actually checks whether the header authorization is set, and it's set because we are doing that here. If we have it inside the cookie, then we are setting the header authorization, and all the other code which is inside the Stripe, sorry, not Stripe, but Strapi, then it holds this information inside the authorization token, and everything works as it should. So let's save this file. Let's wait for server to restart, and now we'll do the Postman again. And then finally, I think we can jump into the React application code, and we can implement the authentication there, because now we are in the backend world. I know that for some of you it's something new, because most of the people are watching me are more front-end people, but yeah, stay with me, and we'll jump into the front end soon. Some of you are, I think, surprised that I'm not using Polish, but as I said on some streams ago, I'm not talking Polish on live coding sessions because I just want to practice my English and be more, I don't know, confident or something. So this is just some kind of experiment, and I will use Polish in other materials. So don't worry, don't unsubscribe this channel. Okay, so the server is restarted, and now we will try the Postman again. So let's simulate what we are doing from the React application. So we have this endpoint where we have to pass the credentials from the form. So we are sending the email, so we are sending password, and okay, it's forbidden because we were we send the cookie that we are logged into the endpoint, which is for logging in. So okay, this is I think how Strapi works. So it don't allow you to call the login endpoint if you are logged in. Kind of makes sense. And now you can see that we have endpoint /orders, and we are not passing any authorization header. All we are passing is a token. So inside the Postman, we can see that the cookies are there. And if we click send, now you can see that we are getting the information. And the reason why we are doing that, why we are getting that, is that we have these cookies. If I will remove them and perform the call again, then it's of course forbidden, because the Strapi doesn't know who we are, right? So we don't have a cookie. We are sending the credentials, email, password, and from now on we have cookies, and we can interact with our application. And this is the same thing we will have inside the React application. So we have React application. We are performing call to the login endpoint, we are getting information that, okay, user is logged in, and then we can store information about that in the context API, in Redux, in whatever, but we are not storing their token. We are thus just storing their information that, okay, this user is logged in, his email is something, and this is just for the purposes of building UI. So you can say something like, hey, hello, Khmarus, hello, Artur, because you know who is currently logged in. You also know that if somebody is authenticated, you can hide or show some elements of your UI. So this is pretty secure. We are not storing JWT token. Of course, security experts can tell you that, oh, but HTTP-only cookie is also not 100% secure, because if you have cross-site scripting attack, they can somehow force your browser to call some endpoint and send the cookies. Yes, I agree that this is not 100% secure method. Of course, if you have cross-site scripting attack, you are fucked already. So you have a serious security problems, and how you are dealing with tokens maybe don't matter that much because somebody can run scripts on your website, so you should fix it immediately. However, if you want to be 100% secure, then you are using cookies plus CSRV token, and then you are secure. Many backend CMSs, backend services like Rails, Laravel are generating this cross-site request forgery. Inside the Strapi, it's, I think, also possible. However, I'm not covering this in this live coding session. So trust me, it's a pretty secure solution. You should be fine for most of the cases. However, if you won't be 100%, no, actually, you cannot be always 100% certain that nobody hack you. But if you combine cookie with CSRV, then you should be pretty secure. Okay, so coming back to our application. So we have endpoint. We are sending credentials, and in the background, Strapi generates cookies, and we don't have to store token anywhere in our application because we have it inside the cookie. Other scripts cannot access this cookie because it's set with the HTTP only flag. Okay, so I will just look into the chat if there are any questions. Of course, guys, if you have some question to me, if you want to clarify something, then chat it yours. Kamil has a question. How long should I keep access token inside the cookie? Is there any recommendation? I think it's, it's up to you, right? If you are implementing bank account where people are logging in and then they have to, I don't know, they can wire transfer money or check their account balance, then I would say that cookie or storing token should be, I don't know, 30 minutes, right? Somebody do the job, and then the cookie is not longer working, right? Because such applications are very important, right? They hold money, they allows you to send money, to check your balance, to check your personal information. So then I would say that this cookie shouldn't be held for too long, right? But if you have an application where you can upload a cut of your picture, a picture of your cat, or you can, I don't know, browse the recipes for lunch or whatever, then I would say that you can keep this cookie as long as you want. You can always write special feature that people can actually decide for how long should be the session should last. They can use remember me option inside the form. They can just toggle it and, okay, I want to stay logged in, right? But somebody can decide that, okay, I want to have this session only for 1 day. So I would say that this depends on actually application you are doing. Okay, so so there are some questions in Polish. Artur, are you using yeah, somebody used I don't know the English word for that, but it's like little Arthur. Are you using Insomnia to checking this request? I don't know what Insomnia is. Insomnia is, I don't know, Insomnia HTTP. And okay, so this is something like Postman, right? Design, debug, and test APIs. Yeah, so I'm using Postman. I'm used to that. I like this application. I'm using it for, I don't know, 5 years or so, and I'm used to it. But I don't know. Maybe I will check out what's the Insomnia is. Okay, so let's go back to our React application. So now what we want to implement is actually that we want to send these credentials over. So we have here a race application. So now I will set up that we have the window of this application here. And plan for today is change Strapi auth controller to create cookies. This is something done. And now we want to add functionality to React application. So this is very simple application. It's from Create React App. And here we have login page. So we have here login controller. This is very simple stuff. The design is taken from Tachyon's CSS system. So we have form, and on submit, we want to handle this submit, and obviously we want to call our API. So this is this fragment here. I will open the console so we can see what's happening here. So I'm writing here, for instance, something, sign in, and nothing happens. We just have this console log here. So now I want to get access to email and password, and for that I will use ref hook. So use ref. Some people are asking, hey, Arthur, why you are using use ref instead of state for holding information about the input? And the answer is that I prefer email ref for such stuff because, I don't have to update, I don't have to re-render the component every time the value of the input changes, right? Because I only need the content of what user typed into the input only when I'm submitting the form. I don't have to re-render the component every time somebody types something into the input, and that's the reason why I will use ref. Of course, you can use some libraries for handling forms. You can use React hook forms, you can use Formic, you can use hundreds, thousands of other libraries, but today I will try to keep everything simple. So here we have to type the, so this is the input for email. So email ref, and we will do the same for password. So it's password ref. All right, and now if we submit, and it would be email, then email ref current value, and that way we will get, because the ref is something that allows us to interact, to talk, to get a state of this input, and whenever this changes, the component doesn't re-render. However, if you execute this function, handle submit, and then you can read what is currently inside the email ref. So we have email here, and we will do the same for the password, just to have the proof that this works how I told you. So let's save the. Here we have some warnings. Let's don't pay attention to that. And okay, so I typed this email, I typed this password, and okay, so now we should, I think, send it to our backend. So I prepared before this live session call API function, some helper. So all it does is stores some information about what's the API URL. Of course, here we can use environment variable, so everyone can change it. On production, we have production.com. On, I don't know, staging, we have staging.com. But here we are on development, so we have this function. I'm exporting it. I'm passing the path, so which path of this API I want to call, right? So this is path, and then we are passing the method, whether it should be a get, post, put, delete, and then I'm passing here also the body. I'm wrapping this body inside JSON stringify. So this means that I can pass here an object written in regular JavaScript. However, to the API, I will send a JSON, which is just a string representation. And here is very important part to what we want to achieve today, because if we don't pass the credentials include, then even if server will create a cookie, then these cookies will be not sent in the next calls. So this is very important if you are using fetch or Axios or any other HTTP caller functions or methods, or I don't know, libraries, then you have to check the configuration, whether you should specify if the cookies should be sent and received with the call. So this is important, and you have to configure this for the call which you are using for login and also for future calls. That's confusing because sometimes people are just using fetch in order to pass email and password, and that's not enough because if you don't provide this configuration here in this fetch function, then it will not work. And yeah, you can check it as a homework. So this is very important. And now we have this call API function, and all I will do is I will import it here. So it will be call API, and I will take it from utils file. And now we have this function asynchronous, and of course we can do this that way. So we can await call API, and of course we want to call the endpoint, which is auth local. So this is our endpoint. Of course, the method is post, and the body which we want to pass here is it's of course it's not email, it's identifier. So it would be email value, and the same we'll do with password. So we'll copy this over. I need, of course, to remove these console logs, and we have here the response. Of course, oh, okay. I will close others and keep it. Okay, I will close that, and let me do some cleanup here. Okay, so we have login, and the response would be the output of this function. So we are doing fetch, then we are getting the JSON out of it, and we are returning the data. And so this would be the response, and let's do the console log here. So it will be response. All right, let's save it, and and let's type here the correct password, and let's see what happens inside the network tab. And the response is forbidden because I'm sending over the cookies. Probably I had some cookies from from previous sessions. So I will remove these cookies and I will do the call again, just you can see what happens. So we are doing this call, and now we have response that everything is fine. We have our user here, and we have response headers, and you can see that server responded with the set cookie header. So browser knows that this means that we have to create a token cookie inside the browser, and it should be visible here. So as you can see, we have now the cookie because server actually set it. And of course, we have our form working, but this is obviously not all we want to do, right? Of course, we want to have some error handling. So whenever somebody uses this form and something is wrong, we of course want to show the error, right? So for error, we will use state. So it would be use state, and we can call it, for instance, error message, set error message, and use state. Oh, use state, and of course it would be null. So right now we want to check what is the response, and if the response, if something is wrong with the response. So for instance, if response user, if we don't have a user inside the response, then we want to throw error, like throw cannot log in, please try again. So if something is wrong with the response, we want to throw the error. And of course, this call can be unsuccessful if somebody pass the wrong credentials, right? The wrong email, the wrong password, then we don't have user in return, so we can throw this error. However, I can imagine other situations that we have something with internet, we have 500 error with the server, so something can go wrong. So let's do here the catch, try catch block. Here we can have error. And of course, if something goes wrong, we want to set error message, and we'll take the error message from here. And of course, somebody can provide wrong credentials, and then the guy can provide normal credentials, or the Strapi can start working, the server can return good response, a proper response. So I think we should also add to this handle submit set error message, and we should remove the error message on the beginning of this function. And of course, if something goes wrong, then we can set it up inside the catch. And here above the form, I will submit, I will render the message, so error message. If it's true, we will return the paragraph which will contain this this information about the error. We'll use the class name TC, which is shortcut for text center, and let's save it, and we will see what happens if we log in. So I will open this tab. I will remove all the cookies we have. So it would be token, and this one I will also remove. So let's type in the right email and wrong password. And you can see that we have cannot log in, please try again. And if we provide right password, then of course we need to handle this scenario. So whenever we do the call, and the call is good, right? We have the 200 status and we have the cookies. We should store information somewhere in our application. Sorry for the rhymes. That user is logged in. And we want to do that because, for instance, we want to hide the login link, we want to show the logout button, we want to, I don't know, let user access to some page. So we need to contain this information inside. Let me check the chat, because there we have some questions. Here is a question in Polish, will be the recording of that. So I think if all will go fine, then the record will stay on the YouTube, so don't worry. Does try-catch shouldn't be in your utils rather than login.js? So I think it depends, right? It depends on the composition. So the question is why we have try and catch error block here. And we have the function called call API, and this function can be used in many contexts. It can be used for login. It can be used for fetching orders. It can be used for creating new order, for removing stuff from the cart. And for instance, if I'm calling this function and there is something wrong with the response, in that context, I want to render error and, I don't know, maybe redirect you somewhere. But on other pages, if something is wrong with the response from this call API function, maybe I want to show modal, or maybe I want to do nothing, right? I just want to reply the request, right? So I prefer to have this try catch here. Maybe it's not the best idea, but it's just something. You know, I did in this application. Maybe there are other better way to do so. However, still you can add here also some try catches. And for instance, if you have some, I don't know, status which is 400 error, then you can return the different payload from this function, right? You can return the data object which contains information about the error. It's also possible. So I'm not saying that this implementation is the perfect composition ever. I just think that it's easy to understand in this context of what I'm trying to show you. So how we can do the login, how we can handle the JWT inside the cookies. So it's just a simplification. And if you feel that you can do this better, then feel free to take the code. I will give you the link to the GitHub. You can fork, you can play with it. So then just write me information, write me private message that, oh, I improved this code, and I will be fine with that. So we have some question. I heard that installing JWT on the client side is not secure because of XSS attack, but React JSX automatically avoid that attacks. So where is the real problem with storing token in local storage? So I think the problem with storing that in the local storage is that, okay, your React JSX might be secure, right? That you cannot execute the code inside it. But somebody can, I don't know, do something wrong, some kind of attack with your application, and they can load some script on site your page, not from React world, but from some other security problem inside your system or inside something outside React, and then other scripts can get access to the JWT token, which is stored somewhere inside your application. So of course, using React JSX improves security, and maybe it's not that easy to do this attack. However, I still think that it's a great value of having the cookie with the token, because you don't have to deal with the storing and accessing token inside your application, because you have to, you know, write the code which is responsible for storing the token inside the local storage. And then if you, I don't know, you want to refresh this token on something wrong is with this token, you have to have the logic which handles that. And with the cookies, I think it's a bit simpler, a bit clearer, because you are just talking to your backend, and cookies is something that the browser is taking care of. It's not something that you have to handle inside your code. So yeah, the React JSX is great, that it prevents the cross-site scripting. However, you still can have this vulnerability from other places than React, because in production-ready applications, it's quite often a situation where you are using some other scripts, not only React. We have a question from Camille. What about the situation when you are logged in Chrome and try to log in on Firefox for any browser? You will get 2 tokens or something. Yes, you will have 2 separate cookies, because obviously I don't know that it's possible to share a cookies between Chrome and Firefox. I don't know, maybe it's possible somehow, but for sure not by default. So this means that you are logging into your application inside the Firefox, and the backend will generate a token for Firefox. But if you will log in on different device and you will call for the first time the authentication endpoint, then the token would be the new token would be generated. And of course, if you need the features like, oh, I want to have possibility to log in only on one device, or maximum 2 or 3 device, or I want to track which token was generated when, yeah, then of course you can do this with the Strapi, but I'm not covering that in this live coding session. And of course you have to customize a bit how your application works. All right, so now we have a situation that we are logging in, and we have to store somewhere situation whether somebody is logged in or not. And for that, I will use context API. So here we have the context API for storing information about the card, and I will create a separate context API. I will call it current user, and here we'll replace the name card with current. Oh, some more. Okay, so current user. So we will have 2 separate contexts. One context is for state, one is for dispatch. We will have a reducer that will hold information about, that will allow us to manipulate the data for currently logged in user. And we will have a really simple API to get information about currently logged in user. And of course, we want to have action called login. We want to have action called logout. The default data that we have inside this reducer would be, I think, empty object. Let's do it that way. And if somebody logs in, we want to keep the state, and we want to take the user which is passed inside the action. And if somebody wants to log out, of course, we want to have empty object. And of course, this is something that is really simple. Of course, we can improve it. We can add some other features later. Yeah, we have other questions from Nobody Perfect. Will this session be available on your YouTube account? Yeah, probably. I don't know, if something funny happens, I don't know, the books will fall down on my face, or I will do something unexpected, then I will not release it. But otherwise, I think the records should be here. So, okay, we have login, we have logout, and of course, we want to call this dispatch the action login once. And of course, we want to do it that way. So we want to take all the stuff from which is passed as an object to action user, and we want to put it here. So I will save it. And of course, to use the context API, we have to change a bit our application. So we have our application here, and we need to take this current user provider from this component that we just created. And of course, we need to wrap it, the whole application. And I prefer to have separate context APIs for card and for current user. I don't want to mix this stuff together. Of course, some people prefer to have one context API, so you can implement it that way if you want. So we have current user provider, and the whole application is wrapped in that. And now we will take the dispatch we want to take this dispatch context because we want to fire this action from our login form. So we will have import, and we want to take actually use dispatch current user. This is because we want to use this dispatch, so it's current user dispatch context, and here the value passed to this context is dispatch. And I did this on several videos ago. I did a video about how to implement cart in React, and many people ask me, hey Artur, why you have the dispatch and state separately, why you are not dispatching and having state in the same context? And I prefer to have it that way because then you have some components that are only dispatching on or only getting access to the data. And then if you have this in separate context APIs, then for instance, component which only dispatches will not re-render if you mutate the state, because these are the separate context APIs. And that's good because I think it's quite often that you are either reading or writing to that state. So this is, of course, you can do this in one context API, and it will probably work just fine. However, this is my preferred way to do so. So if you agree with that, you can use it. If you don't agree, it's okay. You can have it in one context, and it will work. So we have this dispatch, and we want to have this dispatch here. And of course, we are importing that from components, and the component is called current user. Of course, you can name the folder differently, like contexts, and keep the components which are actually the contexts in the other folder. However, remember, this is a very simple application, and I don't want to teach you about structure, about all these kind of stuff. I'm just focusing today on authentication from Rails. From Rails, maybe another video, from React to Strapi. So, okay, we have used dispatch current user, and now we can have this dispatch here. So it would be just dispatch and use dispatch current user. And now from this function, we can call the dispatch, so we can log in the data, log in the user, sorry. So if the response, if we don't have user, of course we want to throw an error. However, if we have the user, we want to fire the action. And here we have action type, which is login. So of course, type is login, and user is response user, right? So we want to pass information about the user, and here we will write it. And of course, maybe we add additional flag, something like is authenticated, will store information true. It will be useful for some stuff that we will have on the UI in a minute. And in case somebody will fire the action type logout, of course, is authenticated is false. And and by default, of course, we also have user, it's not authenticated. So by default, we'll assume that it's not authenticated. Later, we will fix it. And if we are logging in, we are taking all the state that exists, then we are taking the data from the user object, and we are setting a flag to true. And now we have this dispatch here. And of course, if we will log in, nothing fancy will happen, right? Because, sorry, I will take some water. So, of course, nothing fancy will happen. Of course, we can add implementation for redirect. We can do some other stuff. But now I want to dispatch the login, and I want, where is this website? So if I log in, I want to change this login button in the menu to have a logout. So right now we will see that we can fire the dispatch that somebody is logged in, and we can read that information on other components, for instance, the component which is header. So if somebody is logged in, we don't want to render the login button, and we want to have another button which is called logout. So we'll do this in a minute. And of course, here we want to get use current user, and we are taking that from current user. And of course, we want to have it here, current user, use current user, and we'll write an if statement here. So current user is authenticated, and if it's true, then we will render this component. Oh, sorry, actually, if the user is not logged in, right, then we want to have the login. However, if we want the logout, of course, when it's authenticated is true, then we want to have logout. And for now, I will just type it right here. And so here we are taking the use current user, which has access to current user state context. So we have access to the state, which is represented by reducer. So by default, reducer is returning is authenticated false. However, if somebody executes the login action, then the reducer returns the new state, and then the is authenticated is no longer false, it's true, and it contains information about the user. So we have, and the dispatch is here. We need to save it. And inside the header, we have some if statements about rendering the items inside the menu. So let's go here. Let's remove the cookies so they are not there. And if we type here the correct password and email, you can see that now we have logout. So now we have basically information about the user stored inside our context API. However, now we need to add another thing, because as you can see, maybe let's refresh this page. Now, when we refresh the page, we have still cookies. However, we don't have information about whether we have this user is logged in or not. So that's pretty weird, right? Because somebody logged in, somebody provided right email and password. We have cookie, but UI is not aware of that. So here, I think we need to change the implementation a bit about our application. So whenever somebody refreshes the page, we are trying to get information if somebody is logged in or not. And of course, we can do this in various ways. And I think the easiest way would be just to change this current user provider and just make sure that whenever this component mounts, then we are getting information about the user. And if the user exists, if the cookies are existing and they are working, then of course we want to update this information on the UI. So for that, we'll use effect. Use effect is another hook. As you can see, we have a nice collection of hooks that we are using here. Now use effect. Use effect, and we'll write the use effect here. And we don't need to clean up. We just need to write an effect. So it will have inside the asynchronous function. We will call it fetch user. It will be async function. And of course, we want to call the API. And the API that we want to call is called me. It's actually users/me. And this endpoint on Strapi, no, it's get. Maybe it's get. Yeah, so this endpoint, all it does, it's you are passing their cookies or token, and if the user, if actually the token is right and the user exists, you will get information about the user. So we'll call this endpoint every time somebody enters our application for the first time, just to be sure that this user is logged in. So we have the fetch user function, and of course now we need to import call API function from our utils. And here we want to have, so it will be user, call API, and we want to call path, which is users/me. Of course, the method is get, and if user ID, if we have this information, then of course we want to dispatch same thing we have here. So we'll dispatch that, and of course this would be shortcut. So it's user, so we can just write it like that. And of course, we need to invoke that inside this effect. This looks weird, but I wanted to have the asynchronous function, and to have this, so I can use await here. So this is asynchronous function, and I'm calling that inside the effect, and I want to call it once. And if I save it, then whenever this current user provider mounts, and it mounts, I believe once, then we have called to the API, so we know that user is logged in, and we can update the information on the UI. So let's save it, and let's see how the application works now. So now we can see that we immediately have logout, right? We have for a short period of time login. Of course, we can fix that. We can add some loading state that whenever the session is not updated, we can just inform the user that, oh, loading, or not display anything at all. But I will not do this. I will not waste your time in the Sunday. For that, you can easily do that. So now you can see that we have this concept of getting the user. And this is, you can see this inside the network tab, that we are calling this endpoint, and we are getting the user out of me. And of course, this happens only once. If somebody enters the application, then we are getting this, right? And of course, now if I would make this cookies disappear or invalidate them somehow, then if I refresh, then you can see that we have option to log in. And okay, what else we can do? So we have a login form. We have the way to check whether the user is logged in or not. So I think now we should do some protected root. So we are making sure that user is logged in, and if it's logged in, then we are letting the access to this page. Otherwise, we are redirecting to the login page. So this is something we still have to do. And of course, we need to do, I think, logout. So maybe I'm not sure how what's more important to you, but maybe let's implement logout, right? Because logout is important because yeah, then you can test the other stuff in your app. That's, for instance, the secure path works. So let's implement logout now. And I will get back to this great article again, because actually to have logout, we also have to customize the Strapi again, because we have to set the token to null on the server, so we no longer have a token inside the cookie. And of course, in this article, you can also read that you can have the logout functionality written in many other forms. This seems very easy solution. I think it's quite secure, but of course you can keep the tokens in your database and mark them as expired or whatever. But this is a very simple method that just removes a cookie. And then what we have to do from the React world, we just need to call the endpoint to remove the token from the cookies. Then we have to update the UI, and we should be logged out, right? Because the cookie is no longer containing token information, so user is not logged in anymore. So to do that, we need to customize Strapi again. So we have to create the roots JSON. So this is whenever you want to customize Strapi, you have to submit information about new root that you want to have. So it's /logout. The method to access this root is post, and the handler, so the function which handles what this endpoint, is custom.logout. So we'll do that, and we have to create a new custom. So let me take maybe our API here. So we have the API folder, and I will create a new folder here, which would be custom. And inside this custom folder, we need to create folder called custom. And inside this directory, we need to create a config and controllers. So that, and also we need to create roots.js. So roots, so it's okay. So it's custom, it's new folder, it's config, right? So that's the, and inside the config, we need to have new file, roots, JSON, and here, oh, and our server stopped. It's okay, guys. So we have custom config, and now we also need to create controllers, and we have to copy it over. So new folder, controllers. Oh, no JS. Doing controllers and new file and custom.js. And here we have this option here. And yeah, it's paused. All right, I will restart the server. It should work. So yeah, we have the endpoint, which lets us to remove what we have inside the cookie. So I will move it for now here. And now we need to implement the logout thing. So I will head over to header. And of course, we have logout, and maybe let's just do this regular paragraph and on click handle logout. So we'll do this that way, and on click handle logout. Or Okay, let's just keep it as a link to it's more consistent. Okay. So if it's authenticated, we want to run the function called handle logout, handle logout, and inside this function, of course, we need to call API. So we need our super call API utils. All right, and of course, this is asynchronous function. So I will call API, and the path we want to call is logout, right? Because we just added it to our Strapi. It's post. Maybe it should be delete. All right, sorry guys about that. And we have await call API. And now, of course, we want to inform our context API about that user is no longer here. So of course we need dispatch. So it would be not only use current user, but we also want to have use dispatch and dispatch current user. And here we can dispatch this. And of course, type is logout, guys, right? So we have this function here, handle logout, and syntax is better now. So it's handle logout, and this function is called whenever we click on that. We are awaiting for this. Oh, what's the typo? So we wait for this API call to be finished, and when it's finished, we want to dispatch logout action to our context API reducer. So we need to log in, I believe. And let's see what happens if we hit the logout. We have login, right? And still we have login if we want to log in. Okay, we have logout, and this functionality seems to work. Of course, we need to redirect users from this form whenever somebody logs in, because that's weird to see this form. So let's see, because I don't remember React router and how the redirect works. I think we need to have some use history hook. So we'll get this hook into our application to do the redirect. So it's use history, another hook. So it would be history and use history. And if all good, history push, you want to redirect somebody to the main page. So let's save it, and I'm typing right password, and now you can see that we are logged in. So now I think we just need to do one other functionality, and to make this card page available only to logged in user, and we are good to go. We can enjoy the rest of the Sunday. So I will finish my session soon. So if you have some questions, if you have some feedback, then just let me know in the chat. Then also let me know about the feedback. If you like the stream, if you learned anything new, you can hit the like or like button on Facebook or YouTube, and you can just provide me information what kind of stuff with the React and Strapi combination would you like to see on this channel. But in the meantime, I will protect this card page so it's available only to logged in users. So we'll check the, because I remember that it was here inside this documentation, which is great, how to do the protected root. So how to do the protected root, private root, and okay, so it's a wrapper, and if okay, so it renders mm, the past component as a children if user is logged in. Otherwise, it's redirected from that location. So I think we use that. All right. So we have to first of all get this. Okay. So we can do this for. So we can do this inside this app component. So we have root, and root is for regular roots like login and store, right? This is something that can be accessed by anybody. But for instance, this card page should be available only to people that logged in. So let's try to do that. And I will copy this private root concept from here. So let me copy it here. And of course, we don't have this use auth thing. For us, it would be something different. So we need to have the current user exactly like we have inside the header. So let me copy it here. So it would be use current user. And inside this, we can write current user, and use current user hook. And if current user is authenticated, we are rendering the component. Otherwise, we are redirecting. So I think we need to have the redirect component here. And let me check the documentation. So yeah, we are taking a redirect. And yeah, and it should work. I don't know. So we have this private root, and we are wrapping the card in the private root. The children is card. So we have the render props. If you don't know what is it, how this works, this patent and this method is called render props. You can check on YouTube or many blog articles. You can read about that. So it's a render props context concept. And here we have whenever this component has to render, then we have some logic that we have to evaluate. So we are checking whether the current user is authenticated. If it is, we are just rendering the children component. So in that case, it's a card. However, if the current user is not authenticated, then we are rendering a special component which comes from React Router DOM library. And this component, all it does, it just redirects user to the new page. And here we also have a state. We are not using that, but I think it's kind of useful because then you can log in the guy and redirect it back to the location from where it come. So I think it's pretty useful. So let's check how this works. So I saved the application. And let's navigate to, okay, there's something wrong with the import here. Of course, it's components. All right, let's save it. And we are in the network. And let's log out. And if we go to the card, we can see that we are redirected here, right? So we are in the store, we are adding something to the cart, However, we cannot access the card because we are not logged in. So I will log in. I will sign in. And you can see that now the card is available. And the last thing I want to show you is, which is great about this cookie, implementation, is that right now, if we have the card component, this is from my previous video about implementing card. So let's say that we are logged in, and of course we are protecting this URL on the UI level, right? So if somebody is logged in, then the person can access this page. However, I will show you that it's still possible to do asynchronous calls to our API, and we are still we are still authenticated. So we can write here, for instance, some use effect, and maybe I will write it just React use effect, and you'll write some use effect whenever somebody accesses this page, and we want to const fetch orders, asynchronous function, and it will be orders await call API, and we want to call orders path, and it will be get method, and we will write it here, and here we are calling this function. So here, yeah, we have the call API, and so it's, let's put it to the top. So we are on the store. We are going there, and you can see that we are calling order, but yeah, this endpoint doesn't exist. So we can write it orders. And now you can see that we have the payload with the orders. So this works in the way that if we are accessing the card, then we are able to call API and fetch something. And as you can see, I'm not passing the JWT token anywhere, but it's automatically added with the browser. So we have the cookie, and this cookie is sent, and we can interact with it. So yeah, that's all what I prepared for you for today. Let me know what you think about this live coding session, if it was useful for you or not. And of course, I know that this application is really simple and it's not, I don't know, production ready, but my goal for today was to show you first how easy you can customize Strapi for authentication methods. So if you want to have cookies, if you want to have something different than JWT, you can easily customize it and just implement it inside the Strapi. So it's not a tool that, it's hard to customize. Then secondly, I showed you a really simple concept, how you can do the login and logout functionality inside the React application, and how to store information about logged in user in context API. So we used context API, we used reducer for holding this information. Of course, you can use other stuff. You can use local storage to store information about currently logged in user. Of course, don't put there any credentials there, just store their information about the user. So if it's logged in or not, this is something you can store there. But you can see that this cookie approach is very smooth, right? You don't have to pay attention to these cookies because browser handles that. So yeah, that's all what I have for you for today. I will put the links to the React application. The Strapi application is not yet on the GitHub, so I will provide you code to React application. I will provide you a link to the this great article written by Christopher Talk about authentication in Strapi and how to do this in cookies. So everything, it will be in the description. Thanks for today, guys, and I wish you a great rest of today, and see you on my channel again. Bye, guys.